Welcome to the I Ching Cafe. My name is Belinda Dovston, and thank you for joining me for our weekly focus that the I Ching brings us. What is this week, the week commencing the 29th of August, is the I Ching saying we need to focus here. So stay with me as we unpack this week together. Last week we had hexagram 3, sprouting or difficulty at the beginning, and the promise of a return, a turning point, something shifting, the return of spring after a long time of darkness, the bear emerging out of the cave. And I really would love to have described the thought processes going through my mind last week when I thought about this analogy I created for you with the changing line of all these bees and the honey dripping and tapping into the secret sap and tapping into the maple tree and just being confident that you know it's there, that you've tapped into something important, but it's not yet time to shake or kick the hive. And as things turned out, I landed up going on a bee experience with a farmer where I went with my son and we got donned up in our outfits, completely random and not planned to coincide with last week's overview. And we got to sit right up close to the hive as the farmer opened up the hive and checked the hive, which was dripping with honey. And I sat there and I thought, how is this possible that this is happening in the week that I spoke to you all about these bees and don't make a move, don't shake the tree, don't go too wild or shout from the mountaintops, just stay under cover. And there I was sitting in my protective gear thinking, man, this stuff is crazy. So how was last week for you? Did you avoid going and launching into the hive, going after the honey? Well, it was a difficult one for me not to. It was dripping and all I wanted to do was just go and lick it up. But the bees were there and they were saying, stay back, this is our home. We will attack you. We will come after you. And I did get stung, just one. So that was last week. So what is the I Ching asking us to pay attention to this week? What is the flow of change calling our attention to? And where should we really focus our development and our mind and emotions this week? So we have our first hexagram, 43, breakthrough. You'll see from the structure of the hexagram a whole lot of male lines and one little female line right at the top, representing this movement upwards of positive creative energy, pushing out the last little remaining bit at the top. Remember, line 6 is the culminating, right? So we are shoving that little thing right at the top. So what are we shoving out? We're shoving out negativity, old situations, and we are making some decisions and we are acting with energy. This hexagram says the moment of crossing, of charging forward, of getting rid of this last piece of the puzzle, right, or putting it in place, is to dispel the last obstacle, this last little line right at the top. And coupled with that usually means we have to act very decisively and we have to make a decision and we have to act on the decision. So I would say that for us this week, as we contemplate the flow of change, we are being grown in an area where we've perhaps avoided making some decisions. Okay, so our place to start is anywhere in your life and in your business where you are procrastinating over making an important decision or taking that step or moving forward. This is all about parting with the past, making a decision, but on top of that, being resolute and vigorous in doing it now. Okay, so there'll be something where we perhaps have been putting things off. We've not wanted to commit ourselves to the decision and we've kind of been limping along, hoping it'll go away by itself potentially. And this week, there's no avoiding it. We need to act decisively, dispel the past, make a decision and move on it. Okay. There is certainly a lot of sense of urgency that comes up with this hexagram around whatever it is that we're confronting, whatever is that last little line we're booting out of our business, our team, our individual space, that we do it with energy. We don't put it off. We take action, we cut through it and we go for it. Okay, and that releases us to unleash our creative energy, to move forward, to start new things. But this little thing, that thing that's holding us back, right at the top, needs to be eliminated. Now, with our changing line for this week, we have the changing line in the first position. And in the structure of this hexagram, this refers to leading with the foot. Okay, so as much as there's this breakthrough energy, there's also a changing line energy that says if we attempt to push forward and lead in a particular area, right, when we are not ready, we are going to get into trouble. Okay, so bear in mind that this week has this energy of being confronted with acting decisively. But this little changing line says there's also the contraindication against leaping forward and not being honest or truthful enough with ourselves that we don't have the energy, the expertise, the capability right now to lead on this thing. So bear in mind, Breakthrough 43 is the week, the energy of the week. This little changing line brings something specific for us to pay attention to. So as you go into the week, as you want to lead and make decisions, one is make decisions, if you can, using your own judgment and the own flows of change around you. Make decisions you've been procrastinating on, things that are now becoming difficult because you've been avoiding making the decision. Where you're wanting to push forward in your life and in your business, ask yourself the question, is this leading by the foot? Am I trying to lead the whole thing by the foot that by itself doesn't have its own power, right? The foot stabilizes, but it isn't the mechanism that holds everything together. So what we do, we challenge ourselves to think, do I have what it takes? Do I have the skills? Do I have the competencies and capabilities to lead this thing? Because this is about leading this thing that I'm confronting. And the time is not yet here. It will come, but it's not yet here to lead this thing. So just use that as a caveat to this energy of decisive action. Just have your mind and your heart open for where you're trying to push forward and launch forward when it's not your time to do that. You're not ready, okay? And if you do that, there could be some challenges. Now, our second hexagram, where this change process is evolving to, and a process and an energy that is with us the whole week, they sit in parallel. Hexagram 43, Breakthrough, sits in parallel with hexagram 28, Great Pressure. Here, the structure also gives us a story. We have female line, lots of male lines, female line, okay? We have all the strong masculine energy pumping through the hexagram. And we have these two little, hamburger rolls on the top that just not able to contain it. So it's a very lot of powerful energy, creative energy pumping. New beginnings are coming through. However, what that does is bring us a whole pile of pressure and stress. So what do we do? How do we handle stress? How do we behave under pressure? This is a very important question. What is your way? What is your means of dealing with stress in your life? Okay. And this week we are facing some pressure. And when we are going through a big development cycle and we're going through the eye of the needle, we face pressure. It's part of the cycle of growth. It's part of the flow of change and of development. How we respond to that pressure and that stress, that is the human behavior we are needing to grow up in this week. So when we have pressure, what do? We reinforce the house. Okay, think of this as a structure, and this pressure is like a strong lot of pressure, downward force on a ridge beam or on a reinforcing beam in a house. And the house is threatening collapse because this pressure is coming down on a structure that's not ready to hold it. What we don't do is we don't lob on new things and throw in new ideas and launch into new things. In a way, talking about that little changing line of leading with the foot could cause some challenges, right? What we do is we reinforce the structure. We focus on the core. We put aside the nice to haves and we get stuck into the key things that are going to keep the structure together. Okay. So if you face a week where suddenly there's loads of client projects and loads of deliverables and lots of things that need to get done and pressure coming at you from all angles, what we have to do, make that list, prioritize, critical, important, not important, you know the story. Let us then reinforce and build up the scaffolding of our lives, of our businesses in the area where it is core and we are needing to deliver, and put down all the things that are peripheral. This is not a week where we indulge in all the sideshows, okay? We focus on going into the flow of creative pressure. This is good for us. We have to. It's going to fashion us into these beautiful diamonds as we already are. We're being polished, we're being pressurized, and this week the creative energy is bearing down, and the way that we handle it, the way that we get the most out of this flow this week is by augmenting our scaffolding, our structure, our ability to handle the stress. Okay, so this week, interesting week, we have breakthroughs. We have this little changing line that says, be careful of what you choose to run into or step into. Are you the leader? Do you have what it takes? The capability, the capacity? Just hold off if you can. Doesn't mean we don't make decisions. Remember that hexagram 43 is all about acting decisively, but there's a particular thing that we're going to focus on this week around being careful not to lead with the foot. And our second flow of change, where we are growing, is learning how to deal better with stress, how to put in place the structure to support our development going forward. Right, thank you so much. Please like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy the week. And of course, September is a few days away, so we are going to tackle September and get stuck into what the month is asking us to pay attention to, have a little look back in August, what were we learning and doing, and of course, lovely to have you join us on the socials, join us as a subscriber, whether that's on the podcast or on the YouTube channel. It'd be great to have you back here soon. So thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you very soon.